Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Corequisite versus Traditional English Composition Courses. My name is Danny Shapiro, and I'm on the marketing team here at Hawks Learning. Our speaker today is Emily Maddox of Rowan College, Gloucester County. Professor Maddox has worked in higher education for nearly 15 years. She's an adjunct English instructor and the coordinator of the Academic Support Center at Rowan College. She is also the course coordinator of Enhanced English Composition 1, Principles of English Grammar, College Reading 3, and the interim coordinator of English Composition 1. She is involved in efforts to redesign developmental education at Rowan College. We are excited that Professor Maddox is here today to share all her experience and knowledge with us. If you have questions, please enter those into the Q&A box located on the panel at the top or bottom of your screen, and we will address them at the end of the talk. And on that note, I want to turn it over to our presenter.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily Maddox, and I am the coordinator of the English Composition course, Enhanced English Composition 1. So today I'm going to talk to you mostly about that course and how it measures against a traditional English composition course. And I'm going to focus on the structure, design, and benefits of Eng 101E, which is what my college refers to that course. Okay, all right, so I'll begin with a brief history. Prior to the development of English Composition, Enhanced English Composition 1, there were 3 tiers of developmental classes. We had one course, 044, which focused on the sentence level. We had 066, which focused on mostly the paragraph level. And then there was 088, which focused on the essay level. So basically, students were taking, some students, depending on their placement test scores, were taking 3 semesters of developmental writing before they even made it to Eng 101, which is a long time. That's possibly 2 years before they can finish. So that was a problem. Eventually, we removed the sentence level course, and we had 066 and 088, and then finally we did away with paragraph level course, and we had the highest tier, which was the 088, the essay level. Eventually, because of financial aid restraints and other decisions among my administrators, there was a decision to remove developmental writing courses and create college level courses that would still give the students who are testing at the developmental level the opportunity to learn what they need to learn, so that by the end of the semester they will be all right with the students who test into the college level courses. So right now there are 2 courses that are college level, but credit bearing courses that are geared toward the developmental level students. Those are Eng 107, Principles of English Grammar, and Eng 101E, which is Enhanced English Composition. They've both been running for about 5 years, and we've had a nice success rate with those. Okay. All right, so the structure of Eng 101E. The difference between 101 and 101E is 101E is a 4-credit class. The extra credit allows for roughly 25 minutes more instructional time, which gives us, the instructors, an opportunity to spend more time with the students and really provide more instruction in various ways. The nice thing about that extra time is the flexibility that allows the instructors to, if the students need work on grammar, we can spend it on grammar. If the students need more time with this particular writing style, we can focus on that, or understanding research, or anything. And it's really a wonderful opportunity to have that with the students. The important thing about structure, I think, is when the administration was creating the 101E course, they had to be aware of the purpose of it. And the purpose was to make sure that students would be right alongside the students who were enrolled in 101 by the end of the semester, so that they could be able to take the next level course and not miss a beat. So with that note, the students enrolled in 101E have the same exact responsibilities and expectations as those enrolled in the 101. We focus on the writing process a lot. Typically, we assume that the students are coming in regardless of where they went to high school or what ability level they're coming in with. We start them mostly at ground zero, and we'll build them up from there. So we focus on the writing process. We focus on critical thinking and reading, the composition itself, and by the end of the semester, they will be responsible for a research paper and analysis. Okay. All right. Design. Again, the overall curriculum is identical to traditional Eng 101 at my college. The students are responsible for 4 essays. The first one could be a narrative essay or exposition. And then instructor's choice for the second essay, they can do comparison contrast, cause and effect, or process. And then the last essay is the researched essay, and that will be some argument that the students are going to have to make in their paper. And then we also have a common in-class essay that is the college's assessment piece for both Eng 101 and Eng 101E. Students in both courses are required to write the exact same essay, usually within a week. It's in class. They're giving a source and a single source and a prompt, and are expected to write an essay in 75 minutes. And the essays are scored by 2 faculty members, and there's a common rubric for both courses. So it shows how well the 101E students match up against the 101, and both do very well. Okay. Textbook. Right now we're using the Hawks English composition textbook, and instructors have the option of using the Hawks courseware. We've actually experimented with a couple different textbooks, and I have found that the textbook itself doesn't necessarily matter so much, as long as the instructors and the students are able to get the most out of it. There's also instructor chosen supplemental readings, which allows for a lot of different possibilities in the classroom. And then of course the students are required to present an oral presentation that goes along with their argumentation. So it's a nice rounded out semester for the students. All right, so talk about some of the benefits. I think I already mentioned the one benefit is that the flexibility of the extra time. I love that I have the nice dichotomy between structure and flexibility, where some classes I can spend more time on grammar if that's what they need. Every semester, it seems like students have common areas that they need, and it might be different every semester. So it's neat to get to know the students, get to see their writing, and then meet them on their level as the semester goes on. So one class I ended up giving a workshop about how to structure introductions and conclusions. Another semester, I spent an entire class period just on the comma and the different ways of placing it in sentences correctly. And so it's wonderful to have that range of timing. All right, range of ability level. Here's a benefit, but also sort of a reality of placement testing. You know, our college gives these placement tests, and sometimes students don't test well, or sometimes they actually test better than their actual ability level is. Either way, when I step into a classroom the first day, I'm faced with a range of student ability levels, and so it makes for an interesting semester, and I never know what I'm going to get. And it's possible that some of the students enrolled in Eng 101E may actually be stronger writers than the ones enrolled in Eng 101, and vice versa. So it's that makes for an interesting semester every time. All right. In terms of the student benefit, there's definitely a financial benefit for them. Instead of paying to take a developmental level class and then basically doing the exact same thing in the college level Eng 101, they're only paying for one class, enrolling in one class, and their credits in Eng 101E will count towards their graduation, and it will transfer to their next school if they choose to transfer. Okay, there's also, I think, an emotional benefit for students. A lot of times students, they may resent the idea that they are at the developmental level, and I know from experience this year that, you know, my students in Eng 101A or Eng 107 appreciate being in my class, and then, you know, 5 minutes after my class, they're going into their developmental reading level class, and it's the same exact students, but they approach the course completely differently. They're more likely to disrespect their professor. They're more likely to take the work much less seriously. So I think part of that, it has to do with the resentment and also the idea of college level versus developmental level. And I think students rise to the occasion of how they're treated. So when instructors create a course that's a college level course and treats them like college students, like adults, they're much more likely to appreciate that. Okay, and the other benefit is time, which also sort of goes along with the financial benefit. Students who are enrolled in developmental level courses for English and math are much less likely to graduate within 6 years. So to have the ability for a student to enroll in and pass first year English in 1 year, regardless of how their placement scores are, that is a huge advantage over the previous models. The old models, it would have taken 2.5 years for some students, maybe longer, and just to get over the hurdle of Eng 101 and into Eng 102. And then, of course, with the extra time comes the possibility of increased learning. Students can learn more about their topics, and they can start applying what they learn to their other courses. I have a lot of students talk to me about the writing for sociology and psychology and history. So I love that. I love being able to engage them with other subject content within the classroom. And possibly they could be better prepared for and maybe even outperform their 101 counterparts in Eng 102. It's not a competition, of course. It's just that it really depends on the ability level of the student starting out and then where they end up. And then when they move into 102, how well prepared they are. It also depends on their reading level, which is part of our other side of the developmental area, because in Eng 102, the course is a literature-based writing course. So students may excel in 101 or 101A and have much more difficulty in 102. So we're trying to break that barrier by eventually changing the way we handle developmental reading, which is where we're headed now. Okay, all right. It's a little quicker than I thought. I'm open to any questions, or if you need me to slow things down, go back, I'm happy to do that.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Maddox. We are starting to get in a couple questions here. First one we have is asking about the placement you use for this course, if there are placement tests, or if you could talk a little bit more about that criteria.
Sure, yes. We used to use the compass test. That was 15 to 10 years ago. And then we moved into the AccuPlacer, and we were using the AccuPlacer up until this past August, and now we're moving into Next Gen, which is still AccuPlacer, but they changed their scoring, their score levels, and it's still basically the same test. So AccuPlacer, I think that's a pretty common placement test.
And we have another question here, wondering if English 102 is required.
Yes, English 102 is required as part of the first year English program at our school. And it does count towards their 60 credits towards graduation.
And we have a couple other instructors asking about ESL classes, and if you still have separate classes for ESL.
My college doesn't have separate courses for ESL. We've tried that in the past, and actually what ended up happening was students wouldn't realize that the course that they were enrolling in was designated for ESL. So we would get a mix of students from, we would get a mix of native English speakers and ESL students. So we did away with that. So primarily what happens is, depending on where they place at the placement test, many of the ESL students end up either in the Principles of English Grammar course or the Eng 101E course.
And another question, how much of your time in the CoRec do you spend as work days on assignments for composition?
You mean in the classroom, or?
Yeah, I believe in the classroom. I think you talked about this a little bit in terms of how much it sort of depends on the semester and,
yeah,
and the group that you have.
Sure. Okay, so we were given a standard 3-credit class at my college is 75 minutes. So we get about an hour and 45 minutes per class period. So some classes I end a little bit early. Some classes I'm right to the end.
Okay, and let's see, I'm trying to filter through. We have a lot of questions coming, which is great. Thank you so much for all of the audience participation. Erin is asking, do you have any specific readings that you found particularly effective or engaging for the students?
Yes. There was one reading, it's probably my favorite reading overall. It's not just how we play that matters. And it was from, I think it was published in Newsweek originally. You can find it online or even on, they say iBlog, I think. Basically, the premise of that reading was that it's about the everybody gets a trophy and the participation trophy, and how that's actually detrimental to children. And so we always have a really good conversation about that in the class, about the right and wrongness of participation trophies. And so it ends up being really good. This semester, I'm actually trying something new. I'm incorporating a theme into the coursework, and so this theme is personal finance. So I'm finding some articles that deal with personal finance, and I think some of them might be a little bit over their heads, and some of them are right where they are. So it's always a work in progress. I'm always looking for new readings. That they say iBlog is really helpful for that in terms of various topics.
Okay, and John is asking if you coordinate weekly meetings with other instructors or just meet with them on an as-needed basis, how you do that as a department.
I would love to meet with them once a week, but that getting everybody available is very difficult, especially on my campus is very heavy with adjuncts, and they're all moving, including me, from campus to campus and things like that. So what we do is, we try to meet on an on-needed basis or through email. And I try to communicate with everybody openly. But I do like to meet with them at least once a semester. And one of my administrators and we've started hosting workshops and for instructors for various courses. And so the idea is that instructors can come and go as they please.
And Selena has a question just wanting to clarify on the grade aspect of it. She's wondering, students who sign up for 101E do not receive a separate grade for the E part. Is that correct? They receive the same grade?
Yes, it basically counts as their Eng 101. So there is no separate, and when they transfer, they're only transferring 3 credits instead of 4. I think 4 credits still count towards their graduation. So they're not getting graded. It's 1 grade, and it would be the same grade. It's a comparable grade as if they had taken Eng 101.
And we have a couple questions about students who are not as motivated, and some strategies that you may use to motivate and work with them in the classroom.
Yes, the motivation level is always can be a challenge, and I teach at 8 o'clock in the morning, so nobody's particularly motivated. But yes, every semester I have a couple of students who are sitting right in the front, and they're right with me, and then I have a couple that are less motivated. So what I try to do is my personal method is a lot of Socratic questioning and really just talking through ideas. So typically by the end of the semester, I have students actively participating. I'm never going to get everybody, but I try to create an environment where students are comfortable and will talk and to each other and to me. And that encourages their engagement with the reading. The other thing is the Hawks courseware I found has been a very effective model for holding students accountable for their homework and their reading. In the past, I had no way of knowing whether, other than questioning, whether students were actually engaging with the textbook or not. And now, because of the courseware, I do have that data.
And speaking of the courseware, we do have grammar built in as part of our courseware, but we have some instructors wondering if you use some of the grammar lessons within Hawks, or if you do that in a different format.
Yes, I have used the grammar aspect within Hawks this past fall. This past fall was my first year using the courseware, so everything was new for me and new for the students, of course. So I liked that, and I liked the idea that even if I don't require a lesson, because most of the students who really need help with grammar are in the Eng 107 first, and then they move into Eng 101E. So I don't spend a whole lot of time with grammar. I approach grammar as more of an as-needed basis. So I don't require students complete the courseware exercises for grammar, but every now and again I get students asking me how they can improve, and that's when I will refer them to the courseware. Or if there's something that, you know, everybody forgets how to use commas this semester or something, I will actually do a group, basically quiz using the courseware during class, and that can be fun.
And Amanda is asking if you are paid for the extra teaching session and the extra time for the Corequisite course.
Yes. My college pays per credit hour, so I actually end up getting I think an extra like $500 or something per semester for that class, for that extra credit.
Okay, and sorry, I'm just trying to filter through. We just keep having great engagement. We have just so many instructors, it looks like, who are interested in the Corequisite model. Laura's asking, do you make use of any technology in the classroom? For example, let them look up word definitions or other such activities.
Yes, I try to engage some use of technology. Technology is simultaneously the best and worst thing in the classroom. So I'm always aware of, the more time, if I let them use their cell phone to look something up, for example, I have to be aware that they're probably going to be distracted. But yes, and I do use I have a smart board or the projector, and I can use the courseware as needed, which I really like that aspect of it. Or if I needed to create a PowerPoint, or if we had a question in class that I didn't know about, I could look it up online. So there are ways of using the technology.
Okay, great, thank you. Just for anyone, we have a couple people asking, we will be sending out the recording for this. We had a few that joined late and want to make sure they see the full presentation, so we will be sending that out later on today. Jackson is, let me read his question for you. He may have come in a little late and just wants some clarification. He asked, did I understand you correctly that the composition component of the COREC has a combination of college-ready students and students who need the supplement? If so, what is the average ratio of college-ready to developmental students?
I'm not sure that I can answer that question, because technically all of the students that are enrolled in Eng 101E probably tested into it, so they would be classified as developmental level. However, it is possible that non-developmental level students choose to enroll in Eng 101E, but I don't think that happens. So mostly my entire classroom will be filled with developmental level students.
And Joanna's also asking, how does this model work with online classes? Do you have any instructors at your university that do only online classes?
Yes. Okay. Online. For right now, we do not have any online sections of Eng 101A. We do have a few online sections of the traditional 101. As an instructor and the coordinator, I'm very hesitant to create a online model of this course, just because I think that the nature of online would take away from the benefit of the extra time and some of the other benefits of the course. So, that's always something I'm thinking about for the future, because colleges are increasingly becoming online campuses as well as face-to-face campuses. So I may have to adjust my thinking about that in the future, but for now it is not online. I like web enhanced. We use Blackboard for some essay submission, homework submission, and that sort of thing, but the classes are face-to-face.
And is there an enrollment cap on the the face-to-face classes?
Yes, there should be. There's always a sliding enrollment. When I first started with this course, I think we were capped at 18. Now we're capped at 22. So it's still a few students less than the traditional 101, which is capped at 25, which is nice benefit because there is a little bit more of that one-on-one time, especially when I do conferences.
And we have some instructors asking about pass rates and just wondering about the pass rates for different courses.
Pass rates, yes. It's probably between
in particular here, I'm sorry, Emily, Professor Maddox. Let me just read their question, and that may help clarify exactly what they're asking. Jennifer is asking, do you have statistics you can share about the pass rates for Eng 107 and Eng 101E, as well as from 100 level and 201 classes?
Sure. I don't have the statistics for 101. The pass rate for 107 is actually lower than the pass rate for 101E because of the nature of the course. So the pass rate for 107 is probably somewhere around 60%. I could probably get those specific figures later. And the pass rate for 101A is probably somewhere around 80%. The other thing to note is because we are talking about college level courses and not developmental level courses, the passing grade for these courses is a D-, which of course is non-transferable and certainly not anything to be proud of, but a D- is enough to get them into the next class.
And have another question here. Do you spend much time during the supplement discussing college readiness, study skills, campus resources, and those sort of topics?
I do that sort of as a as-needed basis, and maybe in the beginning of the semester. For the most part, my college also has a college studies course, which students take if they test into several different developmental courses, and that course actually handles college readiness and study skills and things like that. So typically I'll address those areas as needed, but I try not to put too much of a focus on it.
And we also have a question here, just wondering a little bit more about placement. We've had a couple people wonder if you use GPA or if you've considered in the past using GPA as placement.
The college looks at, we have the AccuPlacer, which we use, and they look at SAT scores, ACT scores, or PARC scores, which is PARC is the high school proficiency test that the New Jersey is using now. So those are the scores that we look at. We don't look at GPA. This time, I'm not sure if that's something that my administration is considering for the future. I know that there are some schools that have done away with placement testing altogether, and that has worked out. So I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. And also, we have a few people, other instructors, asking a little bit more about 107 and how that curriculum differs from 101E.
Sure.
And if they do not pass 107, do they then go on to 101E?
Okay, yeah, good questions. So Ing 107 actually it's a 3-credit course, and it focuses primarily on sentence diagramming and the principles of grammar. It gets students thinking about their sentences more critically and how the parts of speech work together. And it's actually a lot of fun to teach. I'm teaching a section right now. So if they fail 107, which would be an F, a D- will get them into the 101E. Failing 107, they take 107 again. And there actually is a relatively high number of students who take 107 in the fall and then they retake it in the spring. But we have short writing assignments in 107. It's not meant to be an essay. That's what the point of 101E is. It's more about getting them used to writing and using correct sentence structure and keeping in mind what they're learning in the class and applying it.
And Jeannie is asking about students who need help with reading skills and how you address some of that, and do you address some of that using the courseware as well?
Yes, okay. So reading, a lot of times the students who are enrolled in 107 or 101E are also enrolled in the reading course. So a lot of times that works out really well because they'll apply what they're learning in the reading course into my classroom and vice versa. So there's a lot of commonality there. So with my reading skills, the way I handle it is mostly when we talk about the supplemental readings. I'll ask questions like, well, what is the author's purpose, or who is the intended audience, and things like that. And we have a discussion about the reading. And I also could use the courseware for that as well. So there's a lot of different ways of approaching reading without me reteaching what they're already learning in the other course.
And we have a few other questions on the 102 class and just the focus of that.
Sure. Ing 102 at my college is a literature-based writing course. I know this differs from a lot of other colleges. A lot of colleges have Ing 101, which is the writing process and papers, and then Ing 102, which would be the research paper model and a portfolio model. In my school, we focus on the on writing literary analysis and research papers based on literature, which again, it can be a challenge for students who struggle with their reading levels in 101 and 101E. Because it is possible for students to test into 101 and the reading course. So that's kind of the next step for us. We're retooling our reading program.
Okay, thank you. And I'm scrolling through. We have exceeded our time limit here. I'm trying to see if we have anything else, but it's been wonderful. We really appreciate you taking this extra time to answer all these questions. It seems like we have, again, other instructors who are feeling the same way and just wanting to reach out and say thank you and appreciate the insights on the co-requisite model, as we know lots of instructors in schools across the country are working to implement a model similar to this or try them out. If we did not answer your question, I'm sorry. You can always reach out to us at marketing@hawkslearning.com, and we will make sure to provide more in-depth answers. We just unfortunately could not get to all of them today. You can also see Professor Maddox's contact information up there. I know that she would be happy to respond to you as well. So I want to thank our audience for all of their engagement and for their time today. Again, we will be emailing out a link to view this webinar. And you can view all of our other webinars on our blog at blog.hawkslearning.com. So thanks again, and we hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.